I want to have a talk about relative greenhouse gas emissions. I understood your answer earlier to Senator Roberts as indicating Australia's percentage of world greenhouse gas emissions is at 1.3%. Am I right? Did I hear that correctly?
That's
yes, okay. Now, and what percentages of world greenhouse gas emissions are China, India, Russia and the US?
Senator, I don't have those figures in front of me, but they're a good portion.
Fairly substantial? Yeah. Would they be over 50?
I think we have to take it on notice to get those specific figures, or perhaps somebody, if we can get them before the end of the session, we can provide you with that then. But I can tell you that under the Paris Agreement, we have something in the order of 85% of global emissions covered by the Paris Agreement, and even if you exclude the USA, given that they have announced their withdrawal, the agreement still covers 72% of global emissions. But I don't have that broken down by country, so
okay.
If we can get that, we will.
So can we just think about China for a moment? What was the most... has the most recently reported annual change in emissions by China been a rise or a fall?
So again, we'll have to take that on notice.
Do you have that information for any country at the moment?
Not with us. I think at the table we hadn't anticipated answering by country,
Okay.
but it is available, and so we would just need to bring it together for you.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Well, presumably you would agree that overall, China, India, Russia, US, Brazil, South Korea and Indonesia all emit more emissions than Australia does?
I'll hesitate that's probably correct. Australia is one of the smaller groups, but there are some 170-odd countries that are of a similar size to Australia in terms of their emissions, and when you put them together, that group of countries represents in the order of 40% of global emissions.
Yeah.
So it's a significant group.
Yeah. But of all the countries that emit more than Australia, and bearing in mind there must be quite a lot if Australia's contribution is 1.3%, can you tell me how many are increasing their annual emissions and how many are reducing them?
Not here at the table. I'm afraid, again, we didn't come armed with that information, but it is available, and so we can provide it on notice.
All right. So, Ms Evans, I heard you refer to the Paris Accord earlier on. So of all the commitments of signatories to the Paris Accord, how many are commitments involving a reduction in overall emissions between the reference year and the target year?
So again, we'll take it on notice. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Now, okay, so you knew how much Australia's contribution to was. Do you know how much, by how much greenhouse gas emissions worldwide are increasing at the moment?
Senator, look, I am sorry, we haven't come prepared for this particular line of questioning. All of the kinds of things you're asking are available through the reports to the UNFCCC, but we haven't come with it to hand.
What's that?
Is someone listening, one of your staff available here to track down the information for you?
Yeah, I think we've got someone onto it, Senator.
Okay. So the final aspect of this, I suppose, is that suppose Australia was to cease emitting global greenhouse gas, so we go all nuclear or something like that, 100% nuclear. Would global emissions continue to rise, assuming all the other signatories to the Paris Accords did what they said they were going to do? I suppose that's a fairly risky assumption, but if they did, and the other countries that aren't signatories to the Paris Accord continue to do what they're doing now, what would be the net effect on global emissions?
Okay.
So if whoever's listening in the background there can come up with an answer for that one too, that would be handy.
Well, perhaps if I can try to just, even if you look at the current Paris Agreement, all of the commitments put together, the overall picture is that there's still an expectation that there'll be an overall increase in emissions for some time. The structure of the agreement is such that it says there is an expectation that countries will ratchet up their ambition, their effort, as time goes by, but the existing commitments certainly would still see a continued increase in greenhouse gas emissions, but less than the increase we would have seen had there not been those commitments made.
Right. All right. Well, I'd be grateful for those figures, whether you get them this time or take them on notice, that would be handy. And if you get them while this session is still going, then I will have some follow-up questions, but otherwise I might come back to next estimates.
Okay.